It's 6 p.m. in Douala, 6 p.m. in Bamenda, 6 p.m. in the far north region, and of course, it's 6 p.m. in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. It's time for the news in the English language. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Let us begin with our top stories. Member states and governments of the Lake Chad Basin Commission have taken the commitment to support the transitional government in Chad led by Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno. The head of state, Paul Biya, was represented in the summit by the Minister of State, Secretary General, the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Ngongo. The Central Regional Council has opened the first ordinary session to run for 3 days this Wednesday, May 26, on focus on development and budget for the 2021 financial year. In sport, joint CAF and FIFA inspection team to inspect sport, lodging and health facilities ahead of CAN 2021 has expressed satisfaction with the infrastructures in the nation's economic capital. Those were our top stories. As you heard in one of our late stories, member states and governments of the Lake Chad Basin Commission have taken the commitment to support the process of transition in Chad led by Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno. The commitment was one of the conclusions arrived at in the just-ended extraordinary summit held in Abuja, Nigeria, under the chair of Nigeria's Muhammadu Buhari. The head of state, Paul Biya, was personally represented in the summit by the Minister of State, Secretary General in the Presidency, Ferdinand Ngongo. Details in this report. The summit was attended by member countries including Cameroon, represented by the Minister of State, Secretary General the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Ngongo, Chad's Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno, Niger, Central African Republic and Libya. At the end of the gathering, which had as main topic of discussion the need to strategize on how to tackle security challenges in the Lake Chad Basin, the Commission made calls for the international community to support the process of military transition in Chad. Following the death of its leader Idriss Déby Itno last month, Chad set up a transitional military council headed by Idriss Déby's son, General Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno, to lead the transition from a military to a democratic government within 18 months.
It has increased fragility in our region with destabilizing security implications across the Lake Chad and the larger Sahel region, typified by increased circulation of illicit arms and ammunition, narcotic substances, as well as refugee crisis that continues to threaten the security of the region.
Aside that, delegation at the Abuja summit concluded to provide support to Chad, main country involved in the fight against the Boko Haram terrorist group, which poses a lot of threat to peace and security in the Lake Chad Basin, to her to continue the fight. The call for the putting in place of a program for the demobilization and reintegration of combatants expelled from Libya was equally one of the solutions of the summit. It was the first since the passing away of Chadian President Idriss Déby Itno.
And I wish everybody a safe flight back home to our countries. Thank you very much.
The Lake Chad Basin security has been the focus at the Regional Stability Meeting held this Wednesday, May 26 in Yaoundé. The meeting held under closed doors was chaired by the Minister of the Economy, Planning and Regional Development, Alamin Usman May. Colette Lum was present and compiled this report for us.
Regional Stabilization Facility of Lake Chad Basin is one of the focus of the second meeting of the National Board under the patronage of the Minister of the Economy, Planning and Regional Development, Alami Usman May, at the Hilton, May 26, 2021. Accompanied by other members, gratitude was one of the minister's focal points.
I want to thank at this stage already our financial partners for the great support we have been receiving and hope that, based on the performance achieved, we'll be able to envisage together in the second phase of this important project.
This opening session is related to security analysis in regions hit by crises in recent years in Cameroon, notably the attacks in Mayo-Sava and Sanaga, the Logon and Shari, aimed at strengthening the rule of law and access to justice, reinforcement of security forces applicable to police, gendarmes, customs in order to instill confidence and good practice in this domain.
We are confident that following our discussions, we'll be able to come up with great recommendations, with strong resolutions that will permit the continuation of this important project, as well as strengthening the hope that has been created.
A mechanism put in place in order to respect human rights by forces of law and order in all 10 regions of Cameroon were some of the agenda of the session. Coming at a time when the head of state was represented by the Minister State Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Gongo, in an extraordinary meeting in Abuja, May 25, still on security reasons, the presence of the Minister Delegate to the Presidency in charge of Defense, Betty Asomo, is a sign that the government of Cameroon is instituting every measure for peace to reign in the country.
We now take you over to the northwest region of the country, where 2 communiques have been made public by the senior divisional officers of Bui and Dunga-Mantung divisions in the northwest region of the country, prohibiting the circulation of unauthorized motorbikes and shutting down the borders of Taraba in that part of the country. This is a means to improve the security situation in those areas. Colette Lum went through the communiques and put together this analysis.
The senior divisional officer from Bui in the northwest region, Lario Harry Ngwani, has signed an order prohibiting the circulation of unauthorized motorbikes in the entire division. He warns that anyone caught with an unauthorized bike shall face the law. Going by the divisional officer and municipal authorities, they have the competence to grant authorization to any bike in case of an emergency and in situations beyond control. Any bike caught without authorization will receive severe sanctions from the power that be in that locality. It is worth noting that this decision that will be implemented from June 1st comes as 5 government forces were ambushed in Lassine, Noni subdivision, early Tuesday, May 25, 2021, causing a lot of havoc and chaos in that part of the country. In another communique, the senior divisional officer of Donga Mountain has short borders with Taraba in neighboring Nigeria. According to Simon Quentindo, the senior divisional officer of Donga Mountain, all land and sea borders between Yang Ako in Cameroon and Taraba in Nigeria will be closed until further notice. The decision is to fight the illegal importation of weapons and dangerous drugs, which is making the people of the northwest region insecure. Meanwhile, Cameroon and Nigeria continue talks with an emissary from Nigerian president who was received last Friday, May 21, 2020 by Cameroon's President Paul Biya.
Cameroon has joined the rest of the African countries to celebrate the African Liberation Day under the theme Pan-Africanism in the 21st century, our right, our health, our future. It is a day set aside to remind Africans of their rights to good health, peace, and the need to stop human rights abuses, corruption for a better developed Africa. Anne Omeko has more in this report.
Tradition once respected May 25th as Cameroonians join their African brothers all over the world to celebrate Africans' Liberation Day under the theme Pan-Africanism in the 21st Century, Our Rights, Our Health, Our Future. A movement put in place by African leaders and intellectuals converged 2016 in Tanzania on how to develop the African continent.
During that period, we sat and we thought that we should bring out a declaration which is called the Kilimanjaro Declaration. We gave that name because we were in Arusha and just 100 kilometers away from the Kilimanjaro mountain that we all know, which is very significant for Cameroon. So it took us a lot to put in place the movement and to make sure that we use this movement to fight for the rights of Africans and to make sure that we conscientize Africans on issues that are related to their development.
An opportunity to help Africans understand that their lives and health are more important, especially during this COVID-19 period.
This year is particular because we are in the midst of a pandemic, which is the COVID-19. And this pandemic, we are trying to make Africans understand that their lives are important and their health as well. And we are bringing them to make sure that while fighting for their rights, they should also think of their health and their lives.
The ongoing crisis in the southwest and northwest regions of the country was not given a silent note.
We are as well coming out with a declaration to call on Cameroonians to help stop the war that is going on in the northwest and southwest. And that declaration is something which we really believe in, that through the Africans Rising, we will be able to advocate for the Cameroonian authorities.
Activities were carried out in schools and media outlets from the 20th to 25th to sensitize on the ills of corruption, human rights abuses and other issues destroying the African society. Pan-Africanists are called upon to help change the mentalities and narratives of Africans for better achievements.
Still in connection to the African Liberation Day, over the centuries, Africans have been questioning the variety of the shape of the map of Africa. The first map was drawn by a German, Sebastian Monster, around 1556, a scholar who never stepped foot in Africa. In the following report, Stephen Elangwe attempts a critical analysis on the changes present and the present state of the map of Africa. His analysis.
It has been an issue of controversy from time immemorial that Africans wonder who decided the shape and size of their map, a phenomenon which has been largely criticized by a purely African rationale. History holds that the ancient Egyptians around 1493 BC attempted to figure out the shape of their surrounding, but the evidence of the true origin of what is now known as the map of Africa is found missing in the annals of history, or rather buried in a to-be-discovered place, which makes acceptance more complicated.
I don't really think it is the right thing for Westerners to tell Africans what Africa is. Because it would be like trying to tell somebody how the inside of his house is. So for somebody to know Africa, to know what the worth of Africa, or to know what Africa is all about, the person has to be, or you must have lived in Africa. You should know the culture of the people, you should know what the people are made of, and so on and so forth. You cannot tell me about Africa if you're not in Africa. So I think it is important that we start looking at Africa in a different way. The Africa has to write his own story. Africans should be given the chance to write their own story, to tell the world who they are, and so on and so forth. I think that's it. If we really want to know about Africa, then we have to give Africans a chance to tell us who they are.
How true is the European statistics of the African continent considered to cover a landscape of 11,724,000 miles? While Pan-Africanists view Africa as the mother and epicenter of the human race, Eurocentric view and education classifies Africa as the dark, small, and underdeveloped continent. Sebastian Monster's 1556 map of Africa is also questionable and lamplights a high magnitude of curiosity, since Sebastian had himself never stepped foot in Africa. Constituted of the Sahara Desert, mountains, and surrounded by the oceans and seas, the African continent has reduced in map size and shape as touches have been done over the years, and Africa is wrongly considered to be occupying only 6% of the Earth's estimated land surface. Yet, the questions remain. Who drew the map of Africa? Who decided or who decides the shape and size of the African map? Many unanswered questions.
26th of May 1990 to 26th of May 2021, the Social Democratic Front (SDF) is 31 years of age. The creation of the party in the 90s brought about multi-party politics and strengthened Cameroon's democracy. This afternoon, the chairman of the party, John Frundi, spoke to our reporter Tabby Clarkson on the roads covered so far by the SDF. His report.
The Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF, is 31 years old this May 26, 2021. A time for John Frundi to go memory lane.
26th of May proper, we had over 2,000 well-armed troops from Yaoundé. The whole town was black, filled with security agents. I remember the late Dr. John Bufoncha, may he rest in peace. He called to say I should postpone the launching. Late Honorable Tanden Mona called that we should postpone. I just told them that the die was cast and we had to launch the party.
One of the opposition political parties in the country, if not the main opposition political party, the SDF chairman tells us one of his memorable moments.
Sitting here and looking back, I look back in nostalgia, with gratefulness, with happiness, with love, with all the certainty that the SDF fought a good fight. Because you talking to me will notice how they brought tribalism into Cameroon politics. They brought in the buying of consciences into Cameroon politics. They brought in the use of the military into Cameroon politics. And you know that when we are voting anywhere, they will tell you that bring the SDF vote out. You can vote anybody, but bring SDF vote out so that you didn't vote SDF. So the SDF for all these years and up to now has been the fear of the regime in place. And,
on the question on whether in 31 years of existence, the SDF and the governing CPTM party are dining and whining together, this is what John Frundi has to say.
He's whining and dining with the bill. He's whining and dining with this. Even my own late Secretary General, Professor Samani, may he rest in peace, held a press conference where he declared to the world that he's an insider. He wanted people to know, look at him in the face and know that Frundi was whining and dining with beer. And about 3 months thereafter, Mr. Biya came to Bamenda when we shook hands and said, Mr. Chairman, I am happy to meet you for the first time. Then people said, went down. But these are people who are swearing, hitting the table to say that they're insiders. They know Frundi is whining and dining with the CPD.
The chairman of the SDF, John Frundi, because of his age, he says he will never run again for any presidential election, but his successor is still looming in the air.
I've announced it far in advance that I'm tired. Let us choose somebody else to take over the mantle of the party. And when the people are quarreling, you know why they're quarreling. And I want to say that they are not the only people who have the ambitions to lead the party. Because during the presidential race, I think we had about 5 contestants. Though so many of them dropped off at the wayside and only 2 people contested. I think we had about 5. And if you had 5 people contesting for the presidential race, you have many more contesting to stand as the chairperson of the party.
26 May 1990, 26 May 2021. Happy 31st anniversary to the Social Democratic Front Party.
Following the dismissal of 493 state employees from the public service few days ago, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Lay, this afternoon, May 26th, granted an open press briefing in Yaoundé describing the modalities that were taken for the dismissals of the state employees. The press briefing took place at the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, as our reporter Geraldine Nasser, who attended the open press briefing, tells us in this report.
In regards to the decision that was taken few days ago by the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform, Joseph Lay, on the revocation of some 493 state employees, a press briefing was held this Wednesday to throw more light on the disciplinary situation of these state employees that were singled out following the operation of the physical head count of state personnel known as COPEC.
In furtherance to this, we launched the disciplinary and contentious files with the processing operation of files at the level of our ministry on 28 February 2020.
In the opinion of Minister Joseph Lay, the time for administrative tolerance is over, and 7,622 state workers will face the repressive arms of the law for sanity to reign in the civil service.
The senior staff of the Discipline and Disputes Division, the technical structure in charge of the processing of COPE files, received hundreds of calls at the level of the call center to inquire on the evolution of their disciplinary files.
The minister added that 7,652 cases are being examined by the disciplinary board of the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform, and that the 493 state workers dismissed is just the beginning. The minister cited the cases of 315 people who had died but were still on the payroll of the state, with family relations receiving their salaries.
246 cases of state employees governed by the Labour Code are being examined by the operational units created for that purpose.
The minister ended by calling on the persons who find this decision unsatisfactory and are willing to appeal their cases can do so to the ministry, while insisting that any money unduly paid to anyone will be recovered.
And on to one of our late stories. Regional councillors of the Central Region have begun a 3-day ordinary session this Wednesday, May 26, in Yaoundé. In the opening ceremony this morning, the Vice President urged the councillors to take the issue of health and development as top priorities. The session opened in the presence of administrative as well as municipal authorities of the Central Region. Details in this report. Held at the conference hall of the Central Regional Council in the presence of the Governor of the Central Region, Nazari Paul Biya, administrative and municipal authorities, the first Regional Council session is aimed at laying down modalities and plans of action.
Beginning work, we are working for our region. We are making all we can for the development of our region.
In his welcome address, the President of the Regional Council reminded the councillors of their duties and how impatiently the population want to see things change for the good of everyone. Coming few months after their election and installation, the regional councillors, 70 of whom were drawn from political parties and 20 being representatives of traditional rulers, will use the session to deliberate, lay down modalities and adopt budgets for the 2021 financial year.
Regional plan of development. That is the next action.
The issue of education health of the population of the central region, social and cultural affairs of youth and sports are equally major items on the agenda of the 3-day Regional Council session. The session is chaired by the President of the Central Regional Council. If you're just joining us, you are watching the 6 p.m. newscast on Camde's television in the English language. In a bid to curb the spread of the coronavirus among students, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, this Wednesday has dispatched some COVID-19 materials through the Central Regional Delegation of Secondary Education to examination centers. This move is to prevent students from contracting the virus during the writing of the General Certificate of Education examination, as Ruth Fonyong tells us in this report.
The Minister of Secondary Education, Nalova-Lyonga Pauline Egbe, in prelude to official examinations in Cameroon, has donated anti-COVID-19 materials to some schools that will serve as writing centers for the 2021 examination session. The Minister has taken a step by providing these anti-coronavirus materials.
You have just seen how the materials from the Minister have been received and shared to the different examination centers. They consist of face mask, hydroalcoholic gel, soap, chlorine sprayer, and books. In some days to come, we will receive other materials.
Some measures have been taken to handle students who come without a mask during examination, though parents are responsible for their children's health.
A student who leaves his home without a face mask will be given one, but a student can contract the virus on his way to school. That is why parents are called to watch over their children's health, because they are responsible for the kids' well-being.
It is worth noting that examination dates have not been modified, neither has it been changed as was circulated on social media.
There is a circular letter which gives the date for every examination, and so all what has been circulating on social media are just mere rumors.
The donation of these materials took place at the Central Regional Delegation for Secondary Education, where recipients expressed their gratitude to the Minister for joining them in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic.
Still in the educational sector, the common entrance examination results of the basic education sector has been released in the nation's economic capital, Douala. Results of the other regions. Meanwhile, in the French subsystem of education, results of the concours d'entrée en sixième has also been released, as Colette Lum tells us in this report.
Results of the common entrance examinations in the littoral region is out, with most schools witnessing good results in the littoral region. Meanwhile, other regions are still awaiting the results of the common entrance examinations, expected to be released in the days ahead. Going by reports, still in the common entrance exams of the English subsystem of education, corrections are over at the marking center of Bafoussam, and results are expected to be published as soon as possible. In the French subsystem of education, results of the 2021 session of the concours d'entrée en sixième have been made public in the Babajou subdivision West region. Of the 1,084 candidates who went knocking at the doors of secondary institutions in the subdivision, 950 have been declared admitted, given a success rate of 87.6%. The candidates now have their attention focused on the first school living certificate and the CEP that will take place next month.
And that was the package we compiled for you for this edition of the English newscast on Camde's television for this Tuesday, May 26, 2021. Meet Desiree Trésor Brunner at 8 p.m. as he will be informing you on the latest happenings nationwide in the French language. I'll be with you tomorrow 6 p.m. But before then, do have a wonderful time in the company of our programs. Camdis Television cares. Goodbye for now.